Good morning, my friends. Welcome back for today's shave, which today is brought to us by Stirling Triumph. Today's razor is one of my favorites, Klas Törnblom 5/8, a shoulderless grind. And I got myself way ahead of the horse here, so I haven't done it, didn't strop this thing or anything. So indulge me a little bit while I do this. I'll get this thing stropped, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on today in history. In history today, we'll talk a little bit about, and one that I hadn't done any study at all on until I kind of stumbled on it today, was the siege. The Continental Army set siege to the fort at St. John. They spell it Jean, but I know that's Jean or John in Montreal, or near Montreal in Canada. Remember, we talked about a little bit of forays into Canada because, well, they got a whole bunch of British up there, and we're kind of hoping that by seizing stuff that we can kind of shake some things loose up north here too, to get more support for our own freedom. Also kind of shaking some Canadians loose. We thought that would be a good idea. I don't know how it worked out, but for this part of our discussion though, it is what it is. We went up there and tried to shake some limbs loose up north. Montreal, for little geography, is kind of off the coast. The St. Lawrence River goes down past Maine and north of New York, and Montreal is just kind of up there in the middle, way away from the coast, but it is a warm water port, because the St. Lawrence River is a huge thing. I mean, it's a giant river, and it goes up there. And if you control that area, it was more about kind of strategery, because if you control that port and that area, that fort, you can't do too much into Canada without going past this fort, and it was pretty heavily defended. So we started August, I don't know, this is the 18th, probably 17th, 16th, somewhere in there. Started in earnest. This was kind of, we had gone after Fort Ticonderoga, which is, a little bit away from there, and we're just kind of a continuation of the Canadian campaign, which is kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing is that they're very strategic, and we get a lot of good comes out of it. But the bad thing was, it sucks resources off your main forces, and we're having trouble with ammunition in the first place, and then to supply a whole nother campaign, well, it's a gamble. Let's just say that. So we laid siege there around September, and it lasted. The British had some real staying power. They stayed on, and they held out till November. Or even, they had plenty of ammunition stuff. Problem is, they didn't have much in the way of food and stuff, so we were kind of starving them out. We thought they would probably give in quicker, but they had local people, they had Indians, they had militia, they had 700 and some people at the fort. We had somewhat 1,500 or so, out there, and that ballooned up later in the campaign. But our forces were mostly volunteers, some militia guys, and right in the middle of all that, Ethan Allen, you know, the furniture guy, he tried to take Montreal, the whole city. And that didn't go well. He even got captured while trying to do that. He spent several years living on prison ships. That was a pretty good idea, the British putting prisoners on a ship, because when they're there, how are they going to escape? And they sent him to England, and then we later prisoner exchanged him. That's so gentlemanly the way these guys trade prisoners, because that's how they do things. Prison, it's not always about the men, or about the mission. So they got him back. He never did serve again in active combat, though. Maybe he went back to the furniture business, I don't know. Ethan Allen did write a couple books about his experience in that. I can't blame him for letting him, not putting him back to work. Ethan Allen is part of the Green Mountain Rangers, early ancestor of our American Special Forces. And so that's kind of, he holds a special place in my heart for that. But what do we got going here? I even have some notes down here. You guys should be impressed that I'm actually trying to prepare for this. Oh, come on. So a lot of these things that in Canada, especially French Canada, because I don't speak French, these names and places, I can't pronounce them. So, American forces were under the command of General Richard Montgomery. You know him from Ticonderoga campaign. And then Benedict Arnold took over here a little bit later. Not necessarily directly, but he was there. And Benedict Arnold, of course, you all know he was a real ambitious man. Wanted to get some. I think if they had paid more attention to him, they probably wouldn't have gone turncoat on us. Klas Törnbloms, if you can get one, I would. I've got 8 of them, at least. This is part of a 7-day set. Nice razors. And the steel is beyond excellent. A special love for Swedish razors. And once you get an edge on a Swedish razor, it's there to stay if you strop it properly and take care of it. You shouldn't have to re-hone it for a long time. Let's get the corners of the mustache a little I'm trying to grow these out so I can twirl them. But as I've gotten older, the texture of my beard has changed, and so they're not cooperating real good just yet. Pretty good shave. Normally you would expect a good shave with 2 passes. A lot of folks don't do 2. You almost have to do 2 with the straight to get really nice. Do 3 or 4 to get super nice. No problem there. Let's look at aftershave regimen. I got Thayer's open, so I use Thayer's cucumber. Got just a small bottle of this, and I've got another bottle or 2 of lemon. And then the Triumph aftershave. This is more of a sample size. I'm not sure if Stirling still makes the Triumph, but it's pretty good stuff. Paco Rabanne comes to mind, I think. Who this is. Yeah, that'll do. Thank you so much for coming. You made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe if you're so inclined. I'm Major Rich. You'll find me at theshavingcodger.com. Hope you do. Stick around. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.